Welcome, everyone, to your quantum journey. I get excited about our episodes, but today, any of you that know me know I am a huge animal lover. We have the honor of visiting with Miss Shannon Jacobs today. Shannon is a professional animal communicator and psychic medium known for her grounded, heart led approach to intuitive connection. With the ability to tune into the thoughts, emotions, and even the souls of animals, both living and in spirit. You can see here that I have my beautiful Monroe,
Mhm.
as well as communicate with departed human loved ones. Shannon offers compassionate readings that help provide deep insight, healing, and peace. Welcome to the show, Shannon. I cannot wait
Hi,
to find out, where did your quantum journey begin?
thank you. Hi, thank you for having me. Well, my I could say it first started in childhood. I always had this knowing or understanding what the animals around me were doing, and I grew up with a family that wasn't really open to that, and so it was just I was told it was my imagination or you just dreamed it. And I actually even had a near-death experience as a very young child, and I had this wild story that I still tell. And my mom still says, she says, "Oh, it's just a dream," but that was when I kind of had a clue. But then I pushed it down, kind of went about my life. And through life, I always had this curiosity with Star Wars or horoscopes, or just I had a knowing, I guess, and then or a quest, I guess. And then I got sick. I started getting sick. My body started telling me that I have trauma and I needed to do something about it. And I ended up meeting De La Seria Leon out at Enchanted Healing, and she was a therapist who recognized that I had some gifts. And she said, "Well, I think you better start talking to these animals. How about we try this?" And sure enough, and some other people too really encouraged me, but she was one of the biggest pushers and supporter of me to begin with, and many others too. But that's where I got started.
Do
So
you find, because I think other people, I know, people are starting to get these same nudges. So do
yes,
you think that you arrived at this space of, okay, I've got some trauma here? Do you think, at least in part, that's because you were kind of shoving your gifts down and they were ready to come forward?
yes, oh, 100%, yes.
Yeah.
I believe my body was hurt. The more my body hurt, I had to sit down. It was telling me, you need to listen. And oh my gosh, at first I thought, it was voices. I'm hearing voices, and I thought, well, am I schizophrenic? Am I like, what is wrong? And I realized it wasn't my own voice. And when I got quiet enough, and I think with Dayla's hypnosis, it really brought me down to a space. And when I started listening and writing down what they were saying, I realized, wow, this is something. And then I started, like, I would just tell somebody, meet somebody out of the blue, and I'd have a message for them. I'm like,
Yes.
I am so sorry, but would you
I
mind?
know.
And
Yeah.
most people received it, but I was
Yeah.
like, what is wrong with me? I felt like I'd lost my mind but found my soul,
I
so
relate to that so much. Sometimes I'll say, is there something with, this particular thing, or do you relate to that? And you don't know how it's going to be accepted, but
no,
typically by the time it's just coming out, whether or not you want it to, there is a really big healing behind it. Typically, do you find that
yes,
as well? That if the
yes,
spirit's moving
100%.
that message, I
Yes,
always find
ma'am.
that it's something this person, um,
Yep.
a lot of
Need
times they're walking around with guilt or
Yes.
shame. Do you feel
Yes. A
that
lot of
too?
pain. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do
No,
you want to
100%.
give the audience some examples? I know we always want to be very, respectful of individual stories, but do you have some
Sure.
examples so that when these things start happening to them, they can recognize it?
Yes. Yes. There's quite a few. Some of the ones, like a young college kid, um, she had got a reading, and all this stuff came through about Orion's belt and like all this stuff. And she was so flipped out. She said, and she showed me her, like, I think it was like her sixth or seventh grade uh, uh, assignment. Sorry. And it was about Orion's belt. She's like, "I always loved that, and I've done, all these things." And other times I also sit and, I'm sorry, we
You're
may have to
fine.
cut this little bit out. I just kind of got ahead of myself.
Fine.
I also house sit and dog sit for some
Hmm.
people, and I that I knew that they were not very open to what I do, but they found me, and And so I gave them a little message about their dog, and they were like, "Oh, okay, it was helpful, you know." And then the wife, her daughter had died, and she was in such terrible pain. And she had called me recently to set up another appointment for me to come and stay and watch their dog. And as we were talking, I said, "Would you?" I wouldn't stop. Like I couldn't think of anything else until I told her what I had to tell her. And she was like, "Thank you so much." You know, I just left it at that. I didn't know she'd probably never talk to me again, might even lose her
Okay.
job over this, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I get
And then
it.
she messaged me about a week ago and said, "I just want to let you know how much you helped me. You let me feel freedom to know that I will see my daughter again." You know, that whole deep depth of grief is just so, oh, we just can't even imagine, you know. So
It's
many people have
debilitating. Do you
it is.
find, you know, I I guess I find myself wanting to maybe overshare because I think once
Yes.
you realize that people aren't really gone, pets aren't really gone, they're at a different frequency. And you can
Yes.
kind of tune yourself like you would a
Yes.
radio. Once
Yes.
you know that, I kind of want to shout it from a rooftop, which is difficult
Yes.
because I work in the death care space and not everybody's
Yes.
ready for that information. So,
No.
how do you as a professional medium and animal communicator help people to understand that it's okay to seek this? How do
Mm.
you start that conversation with them, or do they typically just seek you out?
Usually they just seek me out. It's always, I used to get really, I'm still learning about marketing and all that kind of stuff. And so I don't really do a lot of online marketing, and I'm learning. And I used to get really like, I need to get on it. I need to be on it, you know, and no, because it just, the right people come at the right time, and the right person will recommend somebody. And of course I am going to get on my marketing as well, but the right people come at the right time. And sometimes, you know, I am very careful. And what I do is I ask my guides, can they hear this? Do I need to let them know this? You know, and sometimes it's pretty hard and people don't really say much. But I think people are starting to feel it. We just know there's
Yes.
something else. You know, there's more to this. There's
Yes.
more than what we've been told.
I
And I
so
think that
agree.
when I tell them things like, a lot of the time people want to know, are they with the other family? You know, are they with my mom? Is my brother there? You know, and I tell them what I see is, it's like a dining room with two or three different dining rooms. And here's the main table, and here's mom and dad and grandma and everybody. But the so and so, you know, one brother is in another room. You know, he's still there, but they're not. It's not. It's just, I don't know. It really, really helps people when I explain it like that. And I said, it's, the feeling is, if there's no hell, it's not this damnation of,
Yeah.
and you'll never see them again. It's, their energy is there. It's just a different place, and you will
Yeah.
see them again, and you will feel that energy again. I just,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to scream it from the rooftops too. You know,
Me
it's,
too. And I love whenever you start to feel their presence and you start to lean into that and you ask for more and then they provide that to you. I have a
yeah,
special relationship. You and I were talking off camera
yeah,
about someone that I love very much.
yeah,
In many ways, I have a closer relationship now that he's been gone for several years because
yes,
I've learned how to communicate with him and he's learned how to communicate with me. Do you
yes,
see people really reaching for these relationships? And some
yes,
people call it beyond the veil, right? Do you see people
yes.
more and more saying, I want to have that relationship?
Yes, in fact, I get that a lot. I have a very dear friend right now who, her husband died unexpectedly, and she just can't. It's just absolutely devastating for her. And you know, I can't tell her in that moment that it's going to be okay. You know, that you're not going
Yeah.
to. But to me, what it is I notice the love. Grief is that love they can't give.
Yeah.
You can't give it out anymore. They're not there to give them that hug, you know. So you have to, what I've learned to help people in those positions is, you've got to put it into something else. Make it a story, make something in their memory, do something to I don't know,
Elevate
to help.
yourself out of that grief. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So let's talk about that because when you start to understand energy in the body and frequency in the body, you look at grief as being the bottom rung. And
yeah,
so if you're trying to get up here, here's like the top of the human frequency and here's spirit. So to be
yes,
able to get up past that human frequency into this divine realm where you can kind of tune yourself to that frequency, that station right on the radio, you've got to
yeah,
get yourself out of grief. And
Yes.
so a lot of people can't even feel their loved one. They'll say that. I know you've heard it.
Yes.
I can't even feel them. Well, that's because they're
Yes.
still down in the depths and despair. So,
Yes.
how do you recommend? I know you mentioned a moment ago, try to find a way to turn that into a positive thing, a story,
Yes.
doing something, planting a tree, maybe doing
Yes.
artwork that's inspired by your loved one, listening to music. That's another
Yes.
thing. And the
Yes.
body just starts to raise. Do you
Yes.
see people coming to you more often after they've managed to kind of get back up out of the grief a little bit and they're starting to say, okay, now show me, now I'm reaching for it? Is that
Yes.
when they come to you?
Yes. Yes. And in fact, they also the way the people who've come to me and the way my readings are evolving, it's almost as if people at that point, that's a death of themselves, the death of their
Yeah.
part of their life, especially a husband,
Yeah.
um so they're looking for what now, what do I do now, and how do I live without them, and how do I, this person may have made all these different decisions for them, but and all I can tell them is that our heart is, I think, is more powerful than our brain. I believe
Yes.
they have studies on this,
Yes. Greg
and if
Braden.
you can you focus that love, that pain, and remember it into love. Like, I know that's not the right way to say that, but you literally just believe
Transform it.
that
Yeah.
you're with them again. You
Yeah.
literally just have a moment with them and have a conversation, and then go back about your business. Because most of the time, the message that the cross loved ones have said or tell me is that their job is not done here yet. Their work is not done here. You can't come yet. And a lot of people want to go and be with their loved one. They just don't want to be here on earth anymore. And so, you know, they ask why. Why am I so? Why did this happen? And we can't know why. We everybody's we can know why, but it's our path, and there's no rhyme or reason. There's no. It's just sometimes life is hard and terrible things happen, and we have to go through it. And usually, when we go through and deal with the emotions of it and the energy of it, we come out a different person, and usually a better person. You know.
And I think that takes us into our next topic, which you provided me with a little reading ahead of time for my sweet Monroe. And
Yes.
you picked up right away on the fact that I was carrying some grief and some guilt
Yes.
and some anger. You picked up on all of those things, and you provided me with a beautiful gift of peace, which I had been communicating as well with Monroe, but you were
Mm-hmm.
able to bring it to me in a different perspective. And you mentioned something about like contracts. And
Yes.
so for people that don't really understand, because you said it's not always appropriate for us to know the why behind it. Can you
Yes.
help people understand a little bit more about what you mean when you say that?
I think for me, I was raised Catholic, so I go back to Christianity. I don't per se follow Christianity in the way that it is now, but I wholeheartedly do believe and try to follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. And with that, basically, we're all given a path. It's like before we come here, we sit and have a conversation with God, and we talk about what we're going to do this time, because we are all part of God. I believe that our souls are like little solar flares.
Sparks.
God is the
Yes.
sun, kind of thing.
Yep.
And I mean, I know some people might be a little bit with this, but that's what I believe. And this, for my soul, God needs me to feel my pain and my path and experience all that. For every other soul, we have a thing. And yes, sometimes bad things happen to good people, but it's all part of God's plan, as they say. It's there really is a plan in it. But what we have to realize, and what I think we've been programmed and conditioned to forget, is that we all have gifts and a direct connection to God.
Yeah.
And it's our heart, it's our love, it's that energy. And I think we really need to be open to knowing that we don't have to be told how good we are by somebody or whatever. We just have to. We know that Jesus said this is how we're supposed to do it. Be nice to each other, be good, be compassionate, take care of the earth, and and then live your life. And I think as humans, we can coordinate and all live in peace.
Yeah.
I
Right.
really, really believe that. But no, I do kind of go back to Jesus and God and my belief of that perspective.
Mhm.
Um,
I do
so
too.
yeah.
And bringing in a different perspective, when I do hypnotherapy, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes a client will be seeking an answer. Why
Yep.
did I lose a child? Why
Yes.
did I experience this trauma? Sometimes the guides will come in and say, it's a soul contract. We can tell you that this was a contract, but we can't tell you anything more because it's not appropriate for you to know at this time. It's still
Yes.
unfolding in your life. And there is a
Yes.
period of growth or a new path or something that is intended to strengthen their soul during
Yes.
their experience on earth. And so, again, back to your point, sometimes we don't always get the why, but we can
No.
certainly find the peace that comes from knowing that our loved ones are right here, our
Yes.
beautiful pets are right here. And I
Yes.
know that we've talked a lot already about what happens when they've passed, but you can communicate while our sweet little fur babies are still here. So let's
Yes.
break into that conversation. How does that
Okay.
work? And what kinds of things do you see individuals wanting to know about what their pets are thinking?
Well, so I started doing some integrated energy therapy, and I did that with Esther Tucker, and I think Deb Sullivan offers that too. And
Yes.
that opened up a whole realm for me, like a whole doorway to be able to connect with them, the living, while they're alive. So I think the biggest thing that everybody asks, I think almost every person asks me, are they happy? Am I doing enough for them? And I think
Mhm.
it's just the most beautiful, the amount of love that people have for their animals. It's just like for their kids, but it's a different kind of love, I think.
Maybe
It's
100%.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But no, that's the number one thing. Are they happy? Are they okay? What's wrong? Is their health okay? And I think some of the most profound, I mean, I've had some wonderful readings, and every single one is beautiful and deep and compassionate. But some horse people, I'm going to tell you,
Yes. Oh, no
those
doubt.
people, I mean, everybody goes through, but they have some real, some real tragic things happen with some of these animals, and they get back up on those horses, and they work with them emotionally. And horses to me are closer to God than any of the other animals that I've done. So yeah, it's been a real experience. Um,
You see a
yeah.
lot of horse therapy helping children, maybe with autism or disabilities. Is
Yes.
that, in your opinion, because they are able to connect on a telepathic level that
Yes.
maybe some other animals do not?
Yes, God gave them a gift of loyal, not just loyalty, but nobility, and they just vibrate at a higher rate, and it just, I don't know how to explain it, but they're like angels, I
Yeah.
mean, they're just, and they can be such ornery, little turds too, because they
Yeah.
absolutely, whatever we're going through, or the rider, whoever is taking care of them, they're going to take that on. And if this person is not feeling confident, or whatever, this horse is not going to be confident. Maybe they might hurt themselves. Like it is a absolute connection with the rider and horse, and dogs too. But dogs are more kind of chill, and they know how to, they almost human like, they know how to help us. Where a horse is like, I don't care, this is what we're going to do, for the most part.
Right.
Um, they're very,
Very
I believe,
independent. Very
yes, yes,
independent.
and
Yes.
yes, and God did that for a reason.
Yes.
They run wild in some of the areas, and
Mhm.
their spirits are just so beautiful. But my favorites are dogs. I
That's what I
I
was going
can't
to
really,
ask. Let's
yeah,
talk
I
about
can't
the
really say
dogs.
that I have a favorite per se. I
Mhm.
didn't I didn't understand cats as much until I started doing the readings, and I love cats. So I will probably get a cat, my next animal. So
Do they
uh,
live up to their reputation of being uh, prima donnas? You know, a cat is, you will pet
yes,
me when I let you, whereas a dog's
yes,
like, can you just pet me all the time? So is that
yes.
kind of what you get when you do the readings on cats?
Yes, in fact, cats are very, very, um, every single one of them has some kind of origin in Egypt. They show me each time I go in, like with any kind of reading for a cat, I feel their bloodline. And yes, they are just very much, they teach us to love ourselves, boundaries. I'm not going to come over there and let you pet me because you're going to come here, in that kind of way.
Hmm.
They just teach us to be an individual at times,
Hmm.
and so much more. Cats are just, they know beyond. They are protectors of worlds. I've got some people that have 3 cats, and they have a very active outside area with energies that come in and out. I think it's an old
Yeah.
area of town, and their cats are on guard, watching and making sure that the energy doesn't affect anything. I mean, they're very powerful beings, very, very
That's where I
powerful.
was going. I was going to take you there next because just with the information that I've received with cats, they not
Mm-hmm.
only are protectors and cleansers of the energy, and that's one of the
Yes,
reasons why
yes,
they stay so low, right? But
yes,
they can also take on energy from you. And I've even
yes.
seen illness. I have seen
Oh,
a cat
yes.
take an illness from an owner. Can we kind
Yep.
of open that conversation up and help people
Ab-
understand?
Absolutely. I don't really know how it works either, but it's they know their job is to take that. They understand that that owner or that human can't carry that,
Yeah,
and these animals can. They have
yeah,
there's a frequency of cats that is um, I don't know how to explain it, but it's wide open. You know, there's no where we have might have the human body has a 7.87 hertz frequency or something. You know, cats are just whatever they need to be. The little savior angels, I guess. But
mhm,
yes, I had an uncle. I myself, I've had cats help me heal, but especially broken bones. They've done studies on that, and the
yeah.
purring and the frequency of cats will help people heal. I mean, you can't deny that. So
No, you're
God
starting
made them
there.
pretty special, you know.
Yes, and they're starting to come out with scientific discoveries about how humming, as a human, humming is
Yes,
healing. And so this is beginning to kind of put all those puzzle pieces together as to why some
yes,
of these animals can do that.
yes.
And so whenever you find that you're dealing with the cats and they have a different personality, let's shift to dogs. So
Okay.
what is the difference in cats and dogs when you're talking about the emotional state and some of the readings that you've done?
It's just like on TV, cats versus dogs. You know, cats are all the spies and the Russian kind of whatever, or the
Yeah.
dog's like, well, whatever, man. You know, it's
Yep.
kind of like that. They teach us unconditional love. So they are just
Yeah.
whatever, man. You know, that they love people. They
Yeah.
love to be loved, and they teach us that. Um, I think I think from the readings that I've done with dogs, especially, they want their humans to know to be proud of themselves. Like they really help with the emotional parts. And I was
Mhm.
surprised at that. Sometimes when I first started doing the readings, I was surprised how like they went into the you make sure you take care of yourself, make sure you know that you can do what you want to do, and like they really want to build you up as a human and help you, live a
Wow.
good life.
Of
Where
course, you know,
cats are
when
like, okay, I'm here, but
we look
yeah,
at the word dog, and of course, you can't help but notice that if you spell it backward, you have
yep,
God. And I have to believe there's something to that because anybody
yes,
that's owned a dog knows
yes.
that unconditional love. And I think, and I'm going to ask you because you're the expert, do you find that dogs mirror their owner's energy? So if you've got a
Yes,
dog that's really annoying you, they're probably showing you that you do that very same thing.
yes,
Do you find
ma'am.
that?
Yes, yes.
I do
And
too.
sometimes it's hard for people to understand that or see that, Also, I get sometimes people will ask me to, because with the IET, I use energy. I can kind of harness the energy and use it to put around the soul. And I've really helped some of the dogs and cats too with behaviors. I just kind of ask them, what's going on here. Let's let go of the trust. Let's find some trust and let go of the anger or whatever it is. But yes, they absolutely pick up on what we're going through and will carry it for us just like the cats, but they don't carry it the same way. It's
Yeah.
they're a little more dense. Where cats are like
Yeah.
take it and do what it needs to be done, and we're back
Mhm.
to normal kind of thing.
Yeah. I
Yep.
see people with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes they're drawn to get a cat or a dog.
Yep.
And the habits that are reflected back to the owner are a reflection of that anxiety. Oftentimes they're hyperactive, they're hard to
Yes.
discipline, they won't walk on a leash. So you
Yes.
see these behaviors
Yep.
showing you, we're getting there, we're not there yet, but
Yes.
ideally you would see that and go, oh, that's what I need to work on in myself. They're showing me this, but we're saying, why don't you want to walk on the leash like I'm telling you
Right.
to? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do. I get a lot of people that will ask me to. Can you tell him not to dig in the hole anymore in the yard? I can tell him that, but he still needs a dog. He needs direction, and there needs to be some. Usually when a dog is not doing what it's supposed to, there's some kind of disruption in the home. There's always something going on. There was a change they didn't understand. They don't trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it's very
Do
much
you
so.
find that sometimes dogs don't like someone and we
Mhm.
want them to like them? but they
Mm,
have a really good reason for not liking individuals.
yes,
What do you
yes.
find is the reason behind that?
Sometimes it's just fear or a memory. It's a memory. Like my dog, she's 14 and she was a bowl of fluff. Somebody threw her out the window of a car and somebody picked she like a piece of trash on the road, and we didn't know what she was going to look like, whatever. But as she grew older, she had this real aversion to men with hats. My dad wore a wide brimmed hat, and I thought, I kind of checked in with her, and she was a memory of the people that she was with before, and every time she sees someone with a hat, she's going to feel that way. So there's definite memory. They hold on to memories, and they have a whole, like a psyche, kind of like we do. I have some dogs that keep replaying a scenario in their head over and over, and they think that's going to happen every time they hear the door slam.
Yeah.
It's things like that. They can be very complicated. Cats too, and
One of,
cats are very, very temperamental. Like, you better take care of
yes.
me. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
doing good. You're not here enough, so I'm going to pee all over this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely send a different message.
Yes, they
Uh,
do. They sure do.
One of my favorite animal subjects is the fact that sometimes when they do depart, whether it is early or it was expected late in life, many of them come back to us. Now, this might push the belief boundaries depending on, what your personal background is for those of you that are watching, but I've seen it happen and I've had it happen and I don't even doubt it. I know it. So, can you give people a little bit of perspective on how you've seen animals leave and then come back to the same owner?
Yes. So I have some dear friends out at Brushy Fork Creek Gallery out at Christian County.
Mhm.
There's some healers, and uh, they have about 300 acres out there, and they have this little beagle that showed up out of nowhere. And they asked me to do a reading on her. They didn't know where she came from, what happened. And it turns out she was her old dog from when she was a child. And this dog had came to help her through to get towards the end of her life, which she's not leaving anytime soon, but
Yeah.
she's helping her in this part of her life. Um, Basically, it's all about that soul contract. It's about what's going on. And I think I touched on it a little bit with your reading from Monroe. Is he wasn't really sure if he's coming back in this lifetime to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do. They really,
Yeah.
really do. And it just all depends, because we have free will, and you might make a choice that might take you a whole another path. There's
Right.
it's just about being open to all of it. But the number one thing I want everybody to know, what my experience has been, and for others, is that um, these animals and our loved ones, when they cross over, they're not gone forever. You're never not going to feel that love of them again. You will. You just have to take care of your time on earth, and we don't have long on this earth.
Right.
It's a hard go. It's a lot of suffering. It's a lot of,
Yeah.
but it's worth it, and I think we can
Absolutely.
keep moving, keep
So,
moving
if
forward.
someone had a beloved pet and they're trying to figure out if maybe the pet they have now is that pet, or perhaps they're ready to start looking. I know I have my opinions on how they can kind of identify, but what have you seen as the professional here? How can people try to recognize that soul?
It's a knowing. It's literally, it's like, oh, I remember Fred used to do that. Oh my gosh, it's just, I wonder. It's just this every little bits of, I just know. Another friend had a dog walk up to her property, and she kept trying to give it away. She said, I don't need a dog. I just don't need a dog. And she goes, he looks just like my dog when I was 15, and he does this thing that he did, and now it's her dog, and he's got a bed. It's that knowing, it's that little nagging, kind of that
Mhm.
same kind of thing in just in general, in when it comes to energy, and that there's more to
Yes.
life out there.
Oh, absolutely. So, continuing on this path, I know that I have a belief system about why our animals come to us in terms of being a guide. What have
Mm.
you seen from the clients you've worked with, that the animals that are here and maybe the purpose that they're stating? And then also, let's visit that same conversation for those that have crossed over. What have you seen?
Mm. So a lot of the time, it's all about love. It's about our emotions. It really is. I think that we are all brought here to evolve our emotions in some kind of way. We don't all have to be some big fancy, star or anything, but I do believe. So for example, we're going to have to probably cut this out for a second. Ask me
Well,
the
I
question
can't.
again if you can. Yeah. Okay.
We're just rolling. But
Okay.
the question is, I personally believe, I'll just ask it to you like this. I personally believe that sometimes we have animals that come to us that will serve as guides. Perhaps we've come here, we keep talking about contracts, but we've come here, and in this lifetime, it's our goal to be more strong. And
Yes,
we're not going to
gotcha.
be a pushover. We're not going to be a doormat. We come into
Yep.
this life and we kind of fall back into those same patterns, and we're not really
So,
doing so well. And so then sometimes an animal will join us and they will serve as a guide to help us maybe grow in confidence, or they will help
yes,
us sometimes to kind of get on the track of the things that we set out to do. Do you see those kinds of things happening?
yes, a lot, especially with horses, but all of them. Cats. I mean, some people have, these cats to show up at their house, and it turns out that cat helped, told them about the fire, and saved their
Oh
lives. And in
yeah.
that respect, I mean, that's
Yeah.
a very real thing. But no, yes, most of the time it's some kind of that animal having the knowledge that animal is there and loves you helps you move forward in another emotional way. And usually 9 times out of 10, an animal is sent to a human to help them with some kind of emotional thing or a loss even.
So if an animal just shows up, is it a good idea to kind of take inventory of what's going on in your life and see if you can
Yes.
figure out why this might have been gifted to you?
Yes. And did you ask for help? Did you ask God,
Oh
please God,
yeah.
like that they
That's a
show
great
up at the
point.
right time.
That's a
Yes.
great point. I never thought about that. Sometimes our prayers and we're saying, please, I need something, but maybe our idea of what that gift or answered prayer
Yes.
looks like is different than what
Yes.
is truly needed at the soul level. That's
Yes.
a beautiful
Absolutely.
thought.
Yes.
So let's talk about a different kind of animal. Let's talk about spirit animals.
Okay.
What
Yeah.
have you seen in
Oh,
terms of working with people when they start saying, wow, I'm seeing vultures all the time, eagles all the time, cardinals? I know a lot of times
yeah.
we'll say, oh, well, that's a loved one, but let's go a little further than that. What are you seeing
Yes.
when we start talking about spirit animals?
Really cool thing. I just did a reading the other day with some new oracle cards, some Aboriginal healing oracle cards, and they are a combination of plants and animals. And for the lady that I did it for, I pulled out the bogong moth, so it's a big moth.
Yeah.
And she said, oh my God. She said, look at all these. She has moths on her folder. She has moths are just
Wow.
everywhere. It is a genuine message from your guides. It's from your ancestors, maybe even I know this is going to sound really weird and whatever, but
Not
your
to me,
future
but
self sending
yes.
yourself a
Yeah.
message.
Yeah.
It's a very real thing. So it's
That
just
is
keeping
amazing.
open minded about things, and when someone shows up, an animal shows up, like your hawks. I wonder, what do you feel like? You said you found some hawks, or somebody found hawks, and
Yeah, I
you being
did.
the
Well,
beautiful soul that you are,
I
you
got
have
the
them.
call today, and so I always see vultures. I see hundreds of vultures sometimes, and I have videos like they just follow me around, and people are like, "Oh, those are weird," but I think they're just beautiful creatures. And
Yes, I do
so the
too.
last couple of weeks, it's transitioned to hawks, and then today I get a call from a friend that says, "Hey, there's an injured one on the side of the parkway." So I'm out there, and now I've got this hawk. And
Yep.
so we have to take beyond surface level meaning. What does this mean? What's it showing me? And I find,
Yes.
and I'm curious to know what you find, people have these little patterns and habits of things, and sometimes they never connect the dots on it. So my
Yes.
mom is a good example. She won't mind me telling you this. She has collected dream catchers her whole life. And she
Okay.
had no idea, she never even asked. And so when I started doing hypnosis, I said, Mom, you're not Native American. Why do you have dozens of these dream catchers? Well, it just so happens that when we put her into a regression, she has many lifetimes as a Native American sage. And so that's
Wow.
why she's drawn to the plants and
Yep.
learning how to make salves and
Yep.
medicines. So, do
Yes.
you find that when people start to put these pieces together, spirit animals and learning that their animals can communicate, they start looking at their world a little bit differently? Like, hey, hold on a
Yes.
second. What have I overlooked?
Yes. Absolutely. Those people that I watch their dog and house sit for them. She messaged me just 2 days ago and said there was a Luna moth in their mudroom, and now she has found the whole, and she's got the whole message from it. And I mean, she was not open to that, I don't think, a few months ago.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing. It's a peace. It's a relief for people. Like, okay, maybe I'm not all alone. maybe I'm not a terrible person like I'm told I am. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can really just have a breath, take a breath and some peace and know,
Yes.
hey, maybe God's looking out for me, or, this is my angel, or this is my ancestor. It's
It's so
very, very
beautiful.
real.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so beautiful. And right now, I think people are beginning to hear terms like it's the awakening or
Yes.
we're going through ascension. And so, without getting into a deep conversation, what's
Mhm.
happening is the Earth's frequency itself is rising.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
that means that we as a collective are rising. So, we're getting closer to the top of
Mhm.
that frequency level where we can communicate easier. So,
Yes.
what things are you seeing from individuals? Are they coming to you saying, I think my dog's talking to me? Are you getting
Yes.
those clients yet?
Yes.
So tell
I
us
have a
about that.
yes, I have a very dear friend, and I love you, Gloria. And she is very much not into whatever I do. A very Christian lady. I love her dearly, and
Sure.
we have wonderful conversations all the time. But she has two dogs, and she tries to get me to read for them. But even though she doesn't believe that I'm reading for them, and she'll kind of like give me all these little, and it's like I just love her. I said, if you want me to talk to them, I can do that for you. It's her trying to let go of
Yeah.
her solid
Belief
beliefs
system.
there,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think we can all give ourselves permission to investigate something. We don't have to go full blast and become an atheist or whatever that is.
Right. Right.
Like we can be open to like, hey, maybe there's something here, maybe let's just see what that is and learn about it.
Right.
That's what I love seeing. I think there is a shift and it's happening. I think
Yeah.
people are looking for something. We know there's this what we're these systems that we're in is not, it's not what it's supposed to be. And
Yeah.
I think all of us are getting that little niggling feeling all of a sudden. What is this? There's more to this. There's more to life. There's
Yeah.
more to what we're being told.
I
So
love
I think
what you said that it doesn't mean that because you begin to ask questions that you're throwing away your belief system. For me, I
right.
often say that
Not
I've
at
never
all.
been closer to God. I've
Yep.
never been
Same.
closer to God since I took myself out of the programming. I have
Yes.
never been closer. I've
Yes,
never gotten
ma'am.
more messages. I've never felt more guided. I've never
Yep.
felt more spiritual. I've never been
Yep.
closer to my angels, my guides.
Me
All
too.
I had to do was take myself out of the box because we've put
Yes.
God in a box. And
Yes.
so I think we're starting to see that the lid's off, and now people are
Yep.
coming out like, is it safe? Is it safe to come
Yes.
out? And
Yes. Very
so,
much.
if people wanted to learn how to communicate with their animals, so aside from
Mhm.
a reading, do you
Sure.
also help people learn how to communicate with their animals?
I'm working on that, and I do when I find people try to look for me as a not always, but sometimes I feel like they want to come back to me to, if I can keep just helping them,
Yeah.
where I want to show them how to help themselves, make them realize that feeling of love in their heart, and just understand that they are powerful and they have their own skills.
Hmm.
I actually told somebody just the other day that you can probably do it yourself if you can just be quiet, and you have to be able to move the emotions that you have stuck in your body if you have it. Once you start moving the emotions and opening yourself up to the energy and listening, you'll be surprised. And all of our gifts are different, but I think everybody can hear or understand their animals to a point. We all know when they want to go potty outside. We know when they're hungry. We know when they're looking at us that way that they want that toy from over there.
Yeah.
That's it. It's that it's like it's your own voice. It's almost like in your own memory. It's connecting with that and trusting that that's what it is. It's your intuition. It's your higher self saying, "Hey, that puppy needs to go outside and go potty."
And not logicking yourself out of it. For so many of the
Yes.
people that I interview, and then for myself
Yes.
personally, it's learning to just quiet your mind, which is hard
Yes.
to do in this society, and
Oh,
then
I
trust.
really struggle. Yeah.
You start getting these different gifts coming online, and the first thing you
Yes.
do, like you said when we first started, I thought I was losing my mind, or you've
Yes.
got a loved one that's or even somebody that's not someone you knew. They've got a
Yeah.
message for somebody, and I often
Yeah.
say it's like the movie Ghost, where Whoopi
Yes.
Goldberg, she's being
Yes.
kept up all night. He's singing Henry the Eighth I Am. I tell that story because the first couple of times that happened to me, I couldn't sleep. I
Yep.
couldn't do much of anything until I got this message out. And so,
Yes.
people that are starting to have these experiences, I hope that maybe they consider looking into the alternative
Yes.
possibilities rather than just thinking there's something wrong with them because it is
Right.
happening on a grand scale right now.
Yes. Definitely. Yes. And I think more and more now there are places to go, like the Centered Space. There's the Rock Shop in Paducah. There's places. There's so many places are now
Yeah.
open, and people, if you want to learn more, go online. There's YouTube has a
Yes.
plethora of really cool videos and movies
Yes.
about real scientific stuff that they can prove this stuff.
Yeah.
It really is coming into its own. A
So
new
if
worldish.
people, it is a new world. We're actually
Yeah,
experiencing a new world. And I get so excited thinking about all the things that are coming and that we're going to maybe watch the, slow destruction of, maybe the fast destruction of it, but then we get to rebuild. So I look at it
rebuild
as
it. That's
this
right.
is
And
a
we need to
time.
not forget that. That fear
Yeah.
right now, chaos is really, really hard, and we can't really know what and how, but we can be there ready to help each
Me,
other and to lift each other. Yeah.
meanwhile, I'm over here like, burn it down.
Yeah.
It's gotta
Excuse
go.
me.
It's gotta go. Sorry. If
No, I
people
feel
want,
you so much. Yes.
so
Let's
if
just
somebody's watching this and they are really saying, okay, I have to know what's going on with my animal. How does this work? Do they bring their animal to you? Do you do this virtually? Do you take a photo if it's like my sweet Monroe and he's passed? How does this work?
So basically, I can connect virtually, and I'm not really sure. It's all about energy. How I can do this. It just is. But basically, they can text me or message me on social media and send me a picture of their animal, a good picture. I need to see their face, or if it's a human, it's their face. It's basically I look into the eyes, and then we'll do payment, whatever, and then I will text the reading, or I can email it, or we can do a FaceTime. It just depends on what people want. So, but I
I
also do
love
in
that.
person when I go out to Centered Space. I love going to the Woo Festival out there and have a lot of people
Yes.
come, so it's a lot of fun. So
And our
yeah,
goal is to take all of these beautiful practitioners in our region that are coming on the show and sharing their story and sharing their
yep,
gifts and start to do some type of maybe a monthly offering where we do a question
I
and
love
answer
it.
session and have all of you as guests
Yes,
so that our people can begin to step out of their comfort zone and ask these questions and find
yes,
maybe new perspectives to view things. So
yes,
with that being said, is there anything that you want to touch on before we wrap up today? Because this is kind of a new space for me and I want to
sure.
make sure that we haven't forgotten anything that's really important for people to know.
Okay. I just wanted to thank all the people that supported me because I was really not in this life. I did not really believe in all this stuff, and I've doubted myself so much just moving through it, this whole imposter syndrome kind of thing. But
Yes.
just thankful for Centered Space and De La Sierra Lejon. I'm thankful for you for facilitating this, and just my family that have stuck by me and friends and the Brushy Fork Creek Gallery folks. I'm going to be doing some storytelling out there on Earth Day, and they are such a wonderful place and people, and hopefully maybe you might get to talk to them because they've been real pioneers in the this whole I don't know, the new world, the new healing. She's a healer, and he is a bi. I'm sorry,
No, that's
a
okay.
what is it? I can't think of it. The blueberries. Anyway, organic. They're organic farmers.
Wow.
They're all about love, peace, and just being good people to each other. And
Just
they have a really
bringing,
beautiful space out there where you can
yeah,
create and heal. And yeah, so
bringing back
very
that
grateful for
holistic way of life.
everybody.
Yeah. And
Yes,
I think we can all see this vision for where we're going and we can feel it. And so
yes.
it's becoming kind of palpable and so now we're wanting to go faster and faster and bring in more and more. And so I'm so excited that you're sharing your gifts. I'm so thankful that you
Thank
were
you.
willing to kind of step out of those beliefs and have the confidence and courage. It's not easy. It's not easy to come
No.
out and say, I'm an animal communicator, because
Yeah.
not everybody understands it, or I'm a medium. People don't
Yep.
understand it, but there is an audience out there that is so in
Yep.
desperate need of the services that you provide. So thank you, Shannon, for sharing your
Thank you so
story with us
much.
on your
You're so
quantum journey. We
welcome.
appreciate it. Guys, if
Yeah.
you are interested in Shannon's services, I'm going to put a link in the description so you can reach out and find her easily. And again, thank you so much and
Thank you,
namaste.
Missy. Thank you. Bye.